Hey guys, what's up? Brent Calmer from Blue Water VST. I want to share with you something a little bit different today, and this is Alto from Madrona Labs. This is a patchable synth that I think a Reaktor user will love, mainly because the sound quality is extraordinary, but also because it has the spirit of sonic adventure and experimentation that we rarely find. I mean, this is something that just invites exploration and adventure. It is so much fun to use, and the results are stunning. So let's take a look at this. I think you're really going to enjoy how this works and just getting its kind of unique take on synthesis. The first thing we're going to do is look at a couple of the standout features. At the heart of Alto's sound creation is this complex oscillator here at the lower left of the interface. And this is unique because it's based on the work of synth pioneer Don Buchla, specifically his 259 complex waveform generator. I encourage you to check out Don Buchla. He is one of the giants of synth and controller design and really a pioneer in the field. But this is a nod to him. This takes some of its direction from that unit, but it also adds some interesting tweaks, and it's capable of creating a huge range of sounds with a nice parsimonious controller set. So let's get a sense for how this sounds just out of the box with a preset called Delicate Clav, and this will play against a bandpass filtered drum groove. Here's how it sounds. Now, I let that play all the way through just so you can get a sense for how the velocity really impacts the sound itself. It's really an expressive instrument. This is just one of the more, I hesitate to say basic presets, but they really get out there. We'll get into that later on, but first I want to show you just how easy the modulation is as a second part of this. Now, throughout Alto's interface, you see these little dots, which are all modulation sources, and this middle part of the interface is the patcher. So basically, this is where we can connect modulation sources to various modulation destinations, and because it's dedicated for that purpose, it stays nice and clean, and we can see exactly what's going on. And if I click on any of these, it will highlight and I can see the source and the destination in bolder relief. Now, say that we have this groove going, but we might want to introduce some modulation into the attack time, because right now, it's just playing with basically no attack. But say we wanted to modulate the attack time using the LFO, which right now is inactive. What we could do is click on this lamp or on this source and drag over to the attack. Hover over the modulation depth knob and drop it in. And then if I crank this up, this will be a maximum of positive modulation. And then I could also alter the attack time itself to alter the center point around which the modulation will occur. But now I have to dial in some level for the LFO because it's set to 0. So as I bring this up, you'll see that the attack dial begins to register the modulation that's occurring. And there it is. You see it kind of zipping back and forth there. The higher up I bring this, the more you'll see that. Now, once I get this going, you'll hear the attack time being modulated by this LFO. So it's kind of the guitar volume pedal effect there. Now this kind of modulation, this way of modulating something works for anything in Alto, essentially. I mean, you could even come down here and modulate the reverb amount if you wanted to. You crank this up, and then you see that modulation's occurring there. You really get some interesting textures that way. So this is just a basic view of the complex oscillator and how easy it is to initiate these new modulations. And now we'll go a step further and look at how complex these things can get and the soundscapes that you can create with it. Now, Alto really shines when producing sounds that are very lively, almost unstable sounding. Here's a guitar solo preset, and if you'll indulge my very lame rendition of Crazy Train, here's how this sounds. bring up the input in this waveguide. So you hear that the attack and the kind of dynamic quality of the sound is really in there. It continually changes and continually evolves, even if it's the same hit and the same melody. It's a very kind of lively, unstable sound that makes Alto really shine. Let's take another example. Okay, now let's get a sense for how you can bring out different characteristics in the sound with very minimal tweaking. A bass line is about to enter, and we'll do some tweaking to the cutoff and as well as to the complex oscillator, and I think you'll be astounded at the kind of characteristics that come out of the sound. So here it is with the filter closed. Now I can bring this up. I can also move between 3 different filters: low, high, and bandpass. Things really get interesting, however, when I come over to the complex oscillator and I start to dial in some frequency modulation. Listen to the different qualities that come out of the sound, the different frequencies that are added. Bring up this mod index to start modulating the carrier. I can adjust the ratio. It's such a lively, beautiful sound. And this is using a sawtooth wave only. We could also switch over to a simple sine wave or a square tooth wave using the same kind of multi-stage dial. And if we wanted to, we could modulate this. And now it's moving between a sawtooth wave and a square wave. Absolutely stunning stuff. Now let's take a look at the sequencer, which is very flexible and powerful and goes about doing things in kind of an unconventional way. It sends both value and pulse information. So the value information would be something like note information, represented here in orange, and the pulse information are simply pulses that trigger other things. This is represented with these blue squares. So if we get this preset, which is called Happy Ending, going, we'll hear this nice descending line that is being played by the sequencer. Also go in kind of a more textural direction, something more with more of a techno flavor. Come down here to Rory Dow sequences and dial in Meet Sequence 3. This is more of a kind of a textural groove. Also using the sequencer, looping a mere 6 steps and locking to our host ratio. You can slow this down or speed it up. So it's very interesting stuff. Now, the other thing about the sequencer is that you can quantize to a particular key. And because Alto is capable of loading Scala files, if I click on this, I have access to just about any tuning I can think of. Totally consistent with this kind of spirit of experimentation and adventure I've been droning on about. And finally, we can go even farther out there and dial in a preset that modulates even the sequencer itself. So in this case, we have the LFO essentially telling the sequencer how fast to move through these notes. If I bring up this frequency, it starts moving even more quickly. If I bring it down, and I can play my keys as well. So it's as simple or as complex as you want it to be, and it is a wonderfully inventive and adventurous way of looking at synthesis. I urge you in the strongest possible terms to go to madronalabs.com and check out the demo of Alto. And also check out the manual, which is a wonderful resource. It will bring a smile to your face with all these fantastic illustrations. I can't say enough about this. I'm sorry I wasn't able to cover more in this video, but it kind of got away from me. It's such a deep instrument. I'll talk to you again soon, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this. Leave some comments or feedback if you'd like to see more on Alto, and have a great week. See ya.